All right, what's going on, Printed Demons? Latest episode, little bonus episode here. Early follow of mine as I got into the book talk, book online community, Literary Looter. Really appreciate the work he's been doing. He's been sharing a lot of stuff of a lot of books he's been reading. I put this book club together because I truly believe that guys need to read more and be a positive impact in the community and share their experiences and talk to other guys about it. I think in my life I could count on my hand before this the amount of convos I had with guys about reading books and talking about them. So to do this and to make the connection is really awesome. So Literary Looter on TikTok, I appreciate you for joining.
Yeah, for sure, man. Hey, I just feel like men in general, we think that there's a stigma behind not reading books, like it makes us more feminine or something. But we got to remember, books have been getting written for thousands of years. They wasn't just women writing books back in the day. So there's a culture divide at some point where reading is now like a women's thing and not a man's thing. And I'm not here for all that. Like the kids I teach at school, I'm thinking I got boys and girls, and everybody, knowledge is power. So if you want knowledge, you got to be reading something.
And I agree 100%. I think I agree with that stigma. I think as guys now, there's too much negative influence online where it's just like anti-academic, anti-reading, anti-thinking, and I think it's ready to swing back the other way. So I appreciate you fighting the good fight as well on that. So.
For sure.
And you're a teacher as well, right?
Yeah, I'm a school teacher. I've been teaching for the past 7 years. Picked it up in 2019. Been doing it ever since. I started fairly young. I was teaching when I was 19, so I'm fairly young to be a teacher this long. But I've enjoyed every moment. Like, teaching for me is something that I've wanted to do for a while because I was always that kid who always wanted to go back to school to kind of escape what's happening at home. And there's a lot of kids in my area that go through similar stuff. So teaching is something for me I can kind of give back to kids like myself from back in the day.
That's an amazing story, man. That's amazing to give back, and I'm sure, seeing yourself in a lot of those kids, and like you said, feeling like you could have a safe place for you to go to be able to do things and learn and be able to escape. And I feel like that's a lot of why we read too, right? Is like find that place to find something like that. Do you find that kind of connection with your students too, and just like seeing them read and going along with the same process?
Yeah, for sure. Because I tell kids all the time, like, you gotta figure out who you want to be and be that person. You gotta find identity somewhere. And like some of them want to be caught up in crazy online things or things of this world. Even I'm just like, look, you're 10, 11 years old. You got a lot of going ahead to do. So you best not to make bad choices now whenever you can have a chance to just start it real good for yourself. Because I didn't have those adults pouring into me back in the day. I know I didn't. But when I got older into the high school years, there was people that was like trying to help me out from doing crazy things. So I'm like, if I could be that person for somebody else and then put them on the right track earlier, there's no telling what could happen for some of these people.
That's amazing, man. They're lucky to have you. And you're a new dad too. How has that impacted you and getting into the book talk world?
It's great. And I got on Book Talk because like you said, I just have not a lot of males that are around me that talk about books and creative things. But not only that, just in general, like I think we as men always are like, I'm fine, I'll just figure it out myself. And we get to that point where we're bottling things up and we don't have anywhere to kind of release energy and talk to other guys. So if I can talk to guys about books and that's a safe place for them, then I know those are guys that are probably talking about anything else if I need it, and vice versa. But being a dad, man, it's great. Like, it's got its little ups and downs right now, crying and teething and whatnot, but it's so cool.
It's cool, man. Like you, I'm a new dad, a few months apart. My guy's a little over a year and a half, and it's the things you see every day and how it just changes your life. And you think one thing's the coolest thing you've ever seen, and then the next day there's something else. It's just the next coolest thing you've ever seen. It's just like, it keeps you on your toes for sure.
Yeah.
So awesome. Besides that too, any other reasons, just what made you get into the book talk world, or anything you've seen as you started to do it that have reaffirmed why you started doing it?
There's an account called The Gray Cabin, and I don't know if you follow him. His name's Austin, and that was like the guy that I had finally seen, and I was like, you know what, this is a normal guy. this is a normal dude who I could see walking around the street, I feel like, and just talk to. And I was like, and I'm a normal guy too. I ain't got to think about being some big celebrity, making all this money on books or whatever, and talking
Right.
about books and yapping about authors. This guy is just talking about how surprised he was at something he was reading. And of course, it was a Red Rising video I'd first started seeing. And then the Project Hail Mary videos came after. It's a lot of the common threads that we all see. But
Yep.
in seeing him do that, I was like, I know I could do this. So I think it was late January, I was like, take the leap. I made a whole different email to where it wasn't attached to me. It wasn't attached to my name, no Facebook, no phone number, nothing. I wanted to have nobody I know on there because I was like, whoever I meet is because they found me or I found them. And that's what I wanted.
That's amazing, man. And you're doing it. You're doing it. I've seen you're being consistent with it. You're doing a ton of stuff. And like, I know you've committed to it, and you're making an impact. That's the same thing for me, man. It's like
Before
there
we
needs to
did
be
this,
more.
I had a video post right before you sent me the link. So like, I got a video up right now. Let's put it up.
Right. Just cranking it out, man. You're crushing it. And like you said, just normal dudes. We need more of that out there, of just regular guys who can just be, whether it's role models or just share their experiences and not be afraid of sharing their hobbies and sharing the stuff that they're into. I think is a big
Just
thing.
be a freaking person. Like, be authentic. We're
Right.
all one person, and we try to be fit molds of other people. You don't have to do that. Like, that's something I told students that, I had to tell myself far too late, was that I got to stop doing stuff to please other people. I can just please myself. I ain't got to worry about what I'm wearing or what I look like. I can just be me, and if nobody likes that, move on.
Yep. 100% with you on that. So you mentioned it before. You read Project Hail Mary this month. That was our book of the month for my book club that we started last month. I had some different feelings on it, which I'll get into with my guest this month, but appreciate you having on. You mentioned you weren't a huge fan of it, so I wonder, where did that come from for you?
And whenever you brought this up to wanting to talk about it, I was like, let me try to digest and really figure out what the roots could have been. Okay. One, I was reading Count of Monte Cristo alongside of this, so I could have been comparing apples to bananas. Like, I immersed read it, and I was like, the audio was great. I will always recommend the audiobook of this book if someone is going to read it. But reading it tandem alongside another book, which was just pure genius, I think that may have been the wrong play on my part, because I was coming from this world and then jumping into, space with a rock and a man floating around, and I'm like, this isn't really hitting for me. And then I got to thinking, I'm also a big Star Wars fan. I'm a big Dune fan. And that to me is a very different scope than what this space was about. And then I just got off the first trilogy of Red Rising about a month ago. And so there again, it's not meeting the mark. I'm like, once you see the greener grass, all you know is what that color looks like. So it's like, this didn't make it nowhere close to what I was used to reading about in space. However, I think the biggest issue I had with Project Hail Mary was when you're listening to it, and say I step away for a moment, because when I get home from work, I am bad about like trying to do little things while I listen and read. I would get so confused as far as like, are we in space right now or are we in a flashback? Like, what is going on? And the book was recommended to me specifically because it was like, they were like, hey, the main character, he's a teacher. You might be into that. You teach science also. You might like it. And I did enjoy it, but I felt like, I think that sold me enough on the fact of, I thought there was going to be a lot more that had to do with that. And it really, other than him having a science teacher job, and then that kind of got him the foothold into being on this project, that was about it. There wasn't much more to it than that. And then I have an issue with Andy Weir, not personally. I'll never meet that man in my life. But just like the way he writes, it was like, let me flex every muscle I can as far as the science words that I know. And I'm going to say them about 20 times on each page. Like, I swear, I was about to start doing a game where every time I hear astrophage, I was going to take a shot or something. Because it was just... I was like, is this the same page? Is it hitting a loop on my recording?
Right.
I don't know. So for me, it was just like... And Rocky and Grace didn't do a lot of things for me. Like, it felt like they were always doing the same thing in different chapters. Like, it felt like the story didn't progress a lot chapter to chapter. It felt like we were doing similar things over the course of 10, 12 chapters. I'm like, this book is not that long. So we got to wrap it up somewhere. But when I did watch the movie, I did like that I like the scientists than them talking on Earth more than I like the space scenes. It was completely flip flop.
Okay.
So because like it was like the sets were they were great as far as like a space set, but it was like this is all we're doing for 2 hours, and again, not much is happening in those scenes. But at least on Earth, it made sense. Like, oh, this is how we got here. This makes so much more sense. The parts I didn't like about the book, it was cleared up in the movie. But then the parts I liked in the book, the movie was like, nah, I'd give it a thumbs down. But in this case, that would be a good thing. I don't want to give it a thumbs down.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I could feel a lot of what you're feeling there. One, I haven't seen the movie yet, but I think the book to me was definitely written almost like a screenplay, and I wonder how much like he wrote The Martian and like how that factors in of like he's almost writing it like theatrically, which I felt a lot of times like we're building these big scenes and like big like spacescapes and all that stuff. Like it feels big. But to your point, yeah, a lot of it is like, okay, here's the next space problem we got to fix, and then we got to fix this space problem, and so I definitely feel a bit of that. And then the other part of it too, I wonder how much of it impacted for you of like reading another book alongside of it too, right? Like on the flip side of it, of impacting it. For me, why I had mixed feelings, and I'm still kind of working through them, I was like, is this why I liked it, or is this why I didn't like it? Is almost, I feel like on a lot of art these days, sometimes, I feel like, and I know it's intentional a lot of times, I feel like it avoids some of the realities of day-to-day life, where it's like, for me, is like, all right, we have this major problem in the world, and we're all going to band together and fix it, and we're all going to be on the same team, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like, I like to think that would happen, but I don't really know if that's the case, It's right. Like, so it makes me think like, and I think some people like that because it's like, oh, that reminds me of days where we'd come together to solve big problems, and it's like, I don't know. It's like, so for me, it's like that. It's kind of wrestling with the real world versus fiction and all that stuff. So that's what I was kind of battling throughout the book. So
yeah, I don't know. Like I love Rocky, but and then when I watched the movie, I was like, man, this is not what I thought this was going to look like. I was. They had great like lines for Rocky, and whenever they would talk to each other, I really enjoyed those parts. Like him doing the whole figuring out the language, that was cool to me. I mean, stuff like whenever they were building relationships was very interesting, and like the part where so and so might end up dead or something. You think they may have died, and it's like, oh, they didn't. But you had to like go through all the motions of getting to that. So there was some emotion that was brought out in the text, and in the film adaptation, you'll see like they did a really good job adapting those parts. I think. Now, is it 1-to-1? Absolutely not. It is not.
Yeah.
But it was a good movie. It's a great movie, and it was the cinematography was decent, and the set design was very nice. I think Ryan Gosling even did a good job. Like I was really shocked at how well he did that, because I was going into it like, are we sure this is the right man for the job? And he did pretty good. So
amazing to get talk through Project Hail Mary a little bit. I'm gonna do a quick rapid fire before we sign off here.
For sure.
Have a little fun. What's one book maybe you read recently or at any point that kind of changed your outlook on life?
I'm going to say Normal People by Sally Rooney.
Okay.
It's like two people who you wouldn't expect to end up together, and it's kind of like their path into connection. So it was very interesting.
Love it. One book you thought you'd love but didn't.
Project Hail Mary.
That's what I figured your answer would be. I wanted to see if it doubled down. So, no, it's all good.
Hey, I can't say I was like, because Justin Chance, a guy that's on my TikTok and maybe on yours also, I was so grateful that he had sent me that book. So I was like, if I had paid my own money for this book, I would have been so mad.
That's great. One book you weren't sure about when you started, but you ended up loving.
The Count of Monte Cristo.
Awesome.
because I walked
I haven't.
into it. I was very scared, very skeptical, and that was the biggest book I've ever read, and probably will be for a very long time, unless I won't hate myself to read Don Quixote. Um, but that book, it was 200 years old. It's a classic. It's French based. It's very, very nervous. I was like, is the hype worth it? The hype is definitely worth it.
All right. I've seen the movie. I have yet to read that one. Definitely on the list that's floating around. So
Also
that's
on
one I'll have to
PBS
get
right
to.
now, they have the Masterpiece Collection, and they're doing every Sunday. They have 2 episodes out right now, but it's 8 episodes covering the Count of Monte Cristo on PBS.
That's cool. That's cool. And then last one, if there's just the first book you recommend to everybody of like, if they're getting into, whether it's book talk or just getting into reading, getting back into it, what's the first book you throw to them and like, start with this one. It'll get that fire burning for you again.
I think a book that really set me on fire a couple months ago was Hidden Pictures by Jason Rucullet. And it's like a horror thriller based book, but it's super fast paced and definitely not something I've ever read before. So I would say that one.
Awesome. Well, he's Literary Looter on TikTok. Follow him. Make sure to give him a follow. Follow his stuff. Read the books that he's reading. He's got good taste for sure. So unless you disagree with him on Project Hail Mary, we'll see. But
I can't promise you that I will not disappoint you. I cannot promise you that.
Hey man, we could, like you said, we can only do what we do and be ourselves. So
That's
I
right.
appreciate you. This was great. And yeah, thanks again.
Brad, it's great meeting you, man. Thank you so much for having me.